Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. This is your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, coming with Black Minds News. Today's date, July 18, 2019. And on the menu for today is the Eric Garner situation, story, outcome, injustice, and so many other things that could be on the list, of the laundry list of things that could be said. So, how do you feel about that? The officer, Pantiello, could not be charged federally. Still questions as to the disciplinarian aspect as the NYPD will administer. Or are there some discrepancies that maybe is something we need to look at? Because if you do stories as I do, you see a kind of a pattern. And the pattern has something to do with the payout. Yes, when a family member goes through what it does, and people are trying to compensate you with money, but you have not gone through the process, is it a good idea to take money? Well, as I get into this, I will show what I see as into the research about this case. First and foremost, again, I want to say, welcome to Black Minds News, and this channel is to report, articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate with good intent. Report the news, no matter how we get it, from websites, quotes from publications, you name it, we'll get it. First and foremost, we want to give honor to the creator. Why? Because the truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this land that you call the United States, we, the BADOS, Black Americans descended of slaves. Some say Black African descended of slaves. Others say American descended of slaves. We, as the descendant bloodline of the historical people who created this utopia that you call the United States, we give honor to our ancestors. And you know what my motto is? I'm never going to tell you what I heard. I'm only going to tell you what I know. Stay tuned for this broadcast. Hey, how's y'all doing again? This is Black Minds News. I'm your host, Mr. Blows Your Mind. And today's date is going to be July 18th. Once again, it's on. I just say, first and foremost, to my subscribers and fans in the house, what's good, y'all? I know a lot of you are a little busy, and I've been piling a lot on you, so a lot of people might be slow about it, but I just believe that due to the simple fact that, again, as on this show, we talk about, like chess. If you understand the game of chess and being able to see moves in advance, to be how to defend against it or attack it, right? And as I kind of laid out prior before about how I told you that social media and the conglomerates of it was getting together so that they could combat the black corner. because the black corner was infiltrating into the black minds and giving them an alternative to so-called the general media. And so they see the effectiveness of that. And so now they're combating this by suppressing. I hear a lot of the channels talking about suppressing, but again, as the most hated show on the black corner of the internet, I've been yelling that for years, right? To the point that it's looked like I can't get past a couple views, right? Is anybody noticing that? How can something that be on 24 hours, 365 days, always on, and yet no one comes across? You don't think nobody, nothing that is being said, no topics, nothing, none of that, right? And they want you to believe that it's, well, nobody's wanting to hear what you got to say. But see, that just go to show you what you, as you say, right? But it's about what you do, right? Because they are in the background acting as if like there's some mysterious way that this operates that is uncontrollable by them, that the system just weaves and picks. I don't believe that shit for 1 minute. You understand? And so we, as those who are part of the black media of this day and age, must understand that this is about suppression of our voice. It's about suppression of how our opinions, our views, right? How we articulate is different without the propaganda and the spin that other people have their agenda entwined in it. We say it according to the way that how we interpret it. And we don't have a script, so we do it directly with heart, soul, and spirit, right? And so, as this channel, again, I try to do those that I do, but you see the suppression even in that. You mean to tell me in a single form, I can't only get that? If I combine it, I get a little bit more, right? It has the threshold about how many it can only obtain. And once it gets that number, it ceases. So they think I don't know this. You know, that's the thing with these people here. But again, you can't suppress the truth. Don't matter about what you're doing. The fact is, I know you're listening to me. And it's about you. And it's about all that you do. And see, you don't understand that you are on trial. This is the whole thing that they don't understand. See, each and every one of you have an expiration date. You may think, well, no one's going to, tear down this, empire that we got. That's not how that's going to work. Let me tell you something. How it's going to work is each and every one of you has to meet your own demise. And then you have to stand before all the things that you do and you know that you do. You won't have them to support you. Created the greatest chess player that ever played this game. But you can't see that. And you don't have insight to see that. That's why a lot of us out here doing what we do. So again, if you're a passerby, and you should happen to have, again, as I say, go up under the ocean, fall into a cavern. Somehow that cavern takes you through the current and puts you on the highest mountain. Somehow when you come up out of there, you fall on the back of a goat, start yodeling, the goat bucks you off, and somehow you stumbled and fell upon this channel here. This is the most hidden, tucked away, suppressed show in the black corner of the internet. All you have to do is look, I'm building my case. I'm going to cut that. Oh, you going to cut that check. You hear me? Oh, it's piled up. And everything you try to do is all that other stuff. Man, I already backed all that up. You understand? Oh, I'm going to get the check because you got to explain that. It makes no sense, right? So anyway, welcome to the most hated show on the black corner internet. Let's get into this, y'all. No frustration here. Just always got to tell the truth the way I see it. Now, again, this just happened recently. The Eric Garner situation, right, is on that. Actually, the funny part about it's not even funny. The sad part about it is that, it's been 2014, July, I think it was 17, when the life of Eric Garner had been taken. Ironically, they just did what they did. This is to show you the sorcery and the evilness of people. And to send these subliminal messages, keep replaying it, is to try to antagonize you in your spirit, to have you so that you would feel some fear, right? And to keep showing you time and time again that there's people who are above the law, that the law does not apply to them. It only applies to you, the lumpen proletariats. So I want you to see this story here that came out, and then I'll talk about it after the fact. So check this out, and we'll be right back.
Continue their fight for justice after federal prosecutors decided not to charge a New York City police officer in his choking death. Garner died 5 years ago during an arrest for allegedly selling illegal cigarettes on Staten Island. Police officers knocked him to the ground and put him in a chokehold. His death ignited demonstrations nationwide, and his dying words, "I can't breathe," became a rallying cry in protest against police violence. Yesterday, Garner's daughter and mother gave emotional responses to the Justice Department's decision.
Federal cops don't want to prosecute. Nobody wants to hold nobody accountable. 5 years ago, my son said, "I can't breathe" 11 times. And today we can't breathe.
Federal prosecutors said evidence does not prove the officers willfully violated Garner's civil rights. Eric Garner's mother, Gwen Carr, joins us at the table. Gwen, good morning. Thank you for being here. So you've had a night's rest on this. Emotions were raw yesterday. Are you feeling any differently today?
Not really. It's still an insult to injury that they're not going forward with charges, saying that the bar was too high for them to bring charges against some federal indictment.
You said you felt like they killed your son a second time.
Yes,
what do you mean by that?
Because, of course, on the day, this is the anniversary.
Today,
the anniversary. Yesterday, we didn't find out until in the afternoon on Monday that they wanted to speak with the family. So now they say they want to speak with the family and then afterwards have a press conference. Well, we thought that we was going to get some positive news.
Yeah.
Well, the other insult came as we are sitting downtown waiting to go into the meeting with the DOJ. The whole world heard the decision before we did.
They did.
The whole
It was released
world.
before.
Yes, and we're sitting, now we see it on our phones, the social media text us to tell us what the decision was.
Wow.
And they still hadn't came into the room.
Mrs. Carr, that tape is hard for me to look at,
Yes.
where Eric is being choked. I wonder what it's like for you. You've seen it many, many times. You knew him, you loved him. What comes to your mind, and are you at the place of forgiveness yet?
No, first of all, no, that tape, it just tears me apart every time I look or hear the sounds from that.
What do you see?
I see them killing my son and they're not letting him up. I can't even look at the tape in its entirety. And forgiveness, how do you forgive someone who has taken your child's life? I hear people say they forgive. I know as a Christian you're supposed to forgive, but I'm sorry, I'm not at that space
But
yet.
the encounter started because he was allegedly selling loose cigarettes.
And that was not true for that day. He had been in the past selling loose cigarettes, but that day he was not. He was sitting there with Ramsey Ordo, who had took the video, and they were just sitting there. The police had been sent to make an arrest on someone selling cigarettes. So that's what they want to bring their commando back, someone selling cigarettes, which they did not see that day. And even if he was selling cigarettes, it was not a death sentence.
The New York City Police Department is still considering disciplinary action.
Yes.
How much hope do you have?
Well, I'm just hoping Commissioner O'Neill does the right thing. We've been failed by every other source. The de Blasio administration has blocked us up until this point. So I want the de Blasio administration to step up because he can fire the officer at any time.
You think that officer should be fired?
Yes, he should be fired. At least that would give me closure. It won't be justice for Eric because Eric is gone. There is no justice for Eric.
Have you talked to the commissioner?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
We should point out, not a single officer from that day has been disciplined in any way.
Nobody has been disciplined. The only one that's in jail is Ramsey Order.
Now, a lawyer for the officer who applied the chokehold-like maneuver said he's gratified that the Justice Department took the time to carefully review the actual evidence.
No, this was all
what do you
political.
Say to that gratification?
No, this was all political because from the beginning, they brought in a medical examiner that had nothing to do with the case. Brought him in from Missouri.
For the autopsy.
For the autopsy. Mm-hmm. The actual medical examiner told him it was a chokehold. It was a lethal cascade. That's what she called it, a lethal cascade. And the other one's going to say no. He never even looked at the autopsy. He's just given a...
Oh, the paid expert, you're saying?
Yeah, the paid expert.
Yeah.
Never looked at the autopsy. He's just giving his opinion.
So what does closure look like to you at this case? This is a very, very difficult story. We all remember it well here in New York.
Yes.
What does closure look like for you?
Closure looked like the officers, all of them that day, standing accountable for what they did to my son that day. Because even if he was selling cigarettes, it is not a death sentence. My son should not have died that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
5 years later, we're still talking about it.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you for coming today. I know this is very difficult for you.
Yes, on the anniversary, they come the day before the anniversary to give us this crazy news.
I didn't even give it to you. You got a phone.
No, right. They never gave it to us until afterwards. And I said, well, why would y'all leak it before you tell us?
At the very least, the courtesy. Right. They said, we're sorry?
They said, oh, we're sorry about that. But then they went on to the next thing. They never even elaborated on why would you leak this story? Why bring us down here?
At the very least, you should have been given
right.
that courtesy.
You didn't have to bring us down here. You could have let us see it on social media like everyone else did.
Yeah. Thank you, Gwen Carr.
All right. There you see Gwen Carr, the mother of Eric Garner, who after 5 years has constantly been trying to fight the system, right? She's the one that is now calling for the police officer who killed her son to be fired. As you heard in the video that she talked about as to the process and how they did what they did, it just seems that, it's all about protecting the image and the reputation regardless of the injustice that take place. And so what you heard off the bat was that they told Miss Carr, Eric Garner's mother, that the bar was too high for them to get a conviction on the individual, the cop Pantaleo, right? And if you notice, they also had showed in there that the NYPD had approved the tactic hold that he used. When you watch and see the video of the chokehold that he used on Eric Garner, right? And so, again, you hear the mother says, they're reliving this, the second death, right? The second death meaning that they're reliving this all over again. Not getting closure due to the simple fact that everybody who has eyes who can see, seeing what took place, and again, according to what had been said versus what actually ended up being revealed, is two different things, right? And I want to talk about that because, again, I thought that was very interesting, and I got a conclusion how I'm looking at this. Maybe it hasn't been said. Maybe no one hasn't looked at it. But again, this is Black Minds News, and this is what we do over here. And then you hear as Miss Eric Garner's mother, which is, her name is Gwen Carr, right? She says that the day that they went down there and talked to the Department of Justice, how when the verdict that came out, they had been set, to go somewhere to meet up, and they were supposed to be having a conversation to set up a press conference, and they didn't get any notification to after that had took place. Think about that. So that just goes to show you how this was all thought out and planned, how this was going to end, right? They had no idea, according to the way that she is stating, right? But again, we're going to have to look at this. So let me tell you something. Let me show you something here, or talk about something here, right? Because very interesting about this point that I'm going to make as into this, right? And, you know, Eric Garner was born September 15, 1970. He died July 17, or got killed on July 17, 2014. He was 43 years old at the time. He's considered an African American, right? He had been employed as a horticulturist, right, at the New York City Department for the Parks and Recreation. But due to his health reasons, that's why he ended up not working there, according to what they state. Now, he was married, right, and he had 6 children. He had 3 grandchildren. And at the time of his demise, he had a 3-month-old child, right? Now, accordingly, with the NYPD, that Garner had been arrested more than over 30 times since 1980, right? And they say the charges are stemmed from like assault, resisting arrest, grand larceny, right? And according to the New York Times, many of the arrests that they're talking about of the 30, all were related to him selling unlicensed cigarettes. Now, accordingly, in 2007, he had filed a handwritten complaint in the federal court accusing police officers of conducting cavity search on him in the streets, right? Digging their fingers in his rectum in the middle of the street while people were sitting there observing going by. Now, according to the New York Times, he had recently told a lawyer at a legal aid that he intended to take all the cases against him to trial. Now, check this out. Now, at the time of the incident that we're talking about, July 17, 2014, right? Eric Garner was let out on bail for selling untaxed cigarettes. Keep that in mind. He was on bail prior to this incident on that day about selling untaxed cigarettes, driving without a license. They said marijuana possession and false impersonation. All right. So he had just got out of lockup, right? Maybe a day or so, a week ago, whatever it may be. Now, again, what is the odds that they see him, right, and they accost him? Did they have prior, was he the same officers who had arrested him before? Had any of these officers had arrested Eric Garner in the 30 times that they claim that he had been arrested for the things that they state? Did these officers know him for doing what he do? And when they seen him, because again, when you see the tape, they talk to him, but they're just going right at him, right? Nothing to do with the simple fact of what they claiming he's selling cigarettes, because again, they said the mother stated that he didn't sell on that day. No cigarettes were ever found on his body, right? None of that, right? So I'm saying maybe it has something to do with the fact that they said that he was, filing a legal case against them, right? For the one that did the cavity search. And then he was going to take all the other the cases to trial, right? Oh, Mr. Blowy, how do you just say, okay, maybe that did happen, maybe that, okay. But I'm saying, check this out. Now, do you know the individual who ended up filming, right? The man who ended up filming, his name was Ramsey Orta, right? Now, Ramsey Orta is the individual that the reason why we end up seeing the Eric Garner situation is because he was the one that ended up taping it. Now, after that situation happened, according to the article that's talked about, it says that from his own words, right? And I can play his own words, but again, they may strike the channel if I do that. So I'm going to have to tell you this. So Mr. Orta says that after that incident took place, police were driving by his house, shining a light in his house, right? And he felt the intimidation. He kept having dreams that they were going to catch him and choke him out and all these other things. Now, again, he also had a background in and out, Again, we come from these places, right? And so, and as you, because we're talking about Eric Garner in the 80s, right? A man who, right, in the 80s. So that means he was a teenager. If he was born in 1970, you're talking about in the 80s, he was a teenager. Here he is now 43 years old. You're still talking about the 80s. What was his most prior stuff, other than the fact that they talked about what had happened about him doing the things that they had, again, being cavity searched in 2006, right? Was it 2006? I don't think it was 2006. I think it was 2014, right? Or 2007. And so the individual who taped somehow ended up getting a case. He never denied whether it did or didn't. Supposedly he had sold or bought drugs from undercover. And when you think about it, it's a pattern like this. Because did you know also that, like, when you look at all the other deaths that had taken place, when you're talking about, like, it was like, what was his name? The young man that was in the back of the police that broke his legs, his back, right? Let me go back a little bit here, y'all. Most of them that had died, the people who end up revealing the videos end up somehow getting arrested and going to jail, right? And so there's a pattern here, Sean, that again, they call them social journalists, right? We call them social journalists, with people who are videotaping, people like Black Minds News and so forth, social journalists. And so he ended up going to jail based on the simple fact about what he had, again, brought attention to. The whole thing about us being in here about 11 times that Eric Garner said, I can't breathe. And so I think one of the biggest mistakes that was done is that on 2015, July 13, the Garner family, an out-of-court settlement was announced with the city of New York, paid the Garner family $5.9 million. Now think about that. That's less than a year and 4 days to the anniversary of the death of Eric Garner. So once you take the $5.9 million, then I think the way that these people look at stuff, the payment is to now exonerate. You understand what I mean? It's to exonerate when that took place. So now you can't get no federal charges. You might get disciplinary, but you're not going to be able to get, let's say that he was supposed to be criminalized, yet you can't because you took the money. When we look at the case like in Chicago, when the Laquan McDonald situation, the family took the money before the process. So at the end, when everything comes out, yeah, they end up doing, because again of the magnitude of the case, but because of the money that was already given, that's why those other cops that had been supposedly known for fabricating, and lying on their documents that night, nothing ever happened to them. right? So it seems like when our families are taking the money prior to the process, it's like a consolation that if you take the money, then we're not going to charge them. We're going to be able to keep our reputation and so forth and so on. Am I saying not? I'm just saying it depends on your situation and circumstance. But I'm looking like if there's a pattern when we see this, it's constantly being shown that. And I believe this is why they did what they did. And even though they may not have known it, but it was kind of one of them things that, okay, if you take the money, you know that when we pay you, that this is what it's about, right? You know that, right? So they're paying you to take out the so-called stigmatization off of the department. So I'm just saying that it's an injustice, right? Because even the person who she talks about, this person that came in there, that this person who Chino is the last name of the individual, right? There's no origin of the name. I don't even know if this person real or not, right? All it says is the people came in about the 1880s, unknown origins of where this name even come from. So again, kind of fits as to what she said, somebody who came in who really didn't look at nothing, but just gave their opinion. It's kind of like the same thing when you look at the Trayvon Martin case. Remember the dude that did the autopsy? I know zero. I don't know nothing. I know zero, right? The dude that did the autopsy. So they had the German dude come in who said, well, this guy here would be the guy that would teach this guy. And he came in on his opinion, right? Not on the facts, but just on the opinions, right? So this is the same thing looked like happened here. This person came in, but again, had declared that this was a homicide. So if you're saying a homicide, that means that somebody killed somebody. And yet they attributed that Eric Garner's asthma, being choked, kicked in, and that was the cause of really his death. Don't make sense. Do you understand? And so I'm just saying, look at everything in the package. Was this also part of a retaliation about something prior to? And when they seen him, this was them accosting him. And one thing led to another. And again, the brother that Ramsey Orta ended up videotaping is allowed for everybody to see today. Yes, he got 4 years in prison due to he pled out due to the fact that he got caught up in a situation, right? But again, we don't know if that was a setup or not. But it's based on this brother here, this Orta brother, that now that you're seeing a lot of people always videotaping and always making sure that things are getting caught. And so we just wanted to bring this as Black Minds News to bring some attention to the Eric Garner situation. Again, I just think that maybe because you took the $5.9 million, I think that did more damage to not get the justice that you sought. And so Eric Garner doesn't get the justice as should have been based on the simple fact that the exchange of money is what bought that out. Now, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But the way I look at it and the way these stories keep showing the way they do it, that is the pattern. So, again, this is Black Minds News. Come with another thought news show. And let me do one more. See if I got. I guess I can do one. I have to do it off the top, right? I do it. I'm doing off the whim, y'all, because I seen this story and I said, let me go ahead and do it. Everything running kind of a little slow right now, so we're gonna go ahead and go out like this. So we're gonna go out to the next story, y'all. Stay black, love, and all that good stuff. Peace, love, and all that.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Luther and I and everyone in this arena tonight are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on! And it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they died for. Right on! Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saying 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin. They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You got to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control, which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before me. 3, 4. There are only 2 possible explanations. There were 5 months before me. Either no one told me,
where no one knows. Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Control me! I'm gonna smash you to bits! You can't make me do anything like Chris!
Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate.
You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga. And if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true.
I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American, or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, "Brother Greg, you coming by today?" And I said, "Malcolm, I love you." And I said, "I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there." He said, "What do you mean, Brother Greg?" I said, "Well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East." And I said, "But I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get two of us for the price of one. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you."